Times Square. The lights are flashing, but the streets are empty. Snow Paulo, millions of motorcycles and buses, frozen in silence. London. Big Ben strikes noon. The bell echoes, but nobody speaks. Tokyo, Shanghai, Mumbai, Lagos, Mexico City. Silent 8 billion people, holding their breath, waiting, and then they scream. All of them. At once, what happens next? Does the earth shake? Do windows explode? Does the sky crack open? Today, we're going to find out. And the answer might surprise you. Before we blow up the planet, let's start small. Meet Max is at a football stadium. 80,000 fans are screaming around him. He covers his ears. It's unbearable. A single human scream. That's about 80 to 90 decibels. Max screaming at the ref. 90 dB. 80,000 people screaming together. About 110 to 120 decibels. That's as loud as a chainsaw. Right next to your face, Max thinks. If 80,000 people are this loud, what would 8 billion sound like? Good question, Max. Let's do the math. But first, we need to understand something weird about sound. Here, single quotes as the thing. Sound doesn't add up the way you think it does. If one person screams at 90 decibels, and another person screams at 90 decibels, the total isn't 180 dB. It's only 93 decibels. Wait, what? Yeah? Doubling the sound sources only adds 3 decibels. That's it. 10 people. Add 10 decibels, 100 people. Add 20 decibels, 1,000. Add 30 dB. This is because sound is a logarithmic scale. Your ears don't hear math, they hear ratios. So when Max imagines 8 billion people screaming, he can't just multiply. He has to use the formula. And the formula says 8 billion people. Each screaming at 90 decibels would create a combined scream of about 189 decibels. Max gulps. That sounds bad. But here's where it gets interesting. There's a limit. See, Max just learned about something called the acoustic ceiling. At normal atmospheric pressure, sound can't physically go above 194 decibels. Why? Because at that level, the sound wave creates such intense pressure changes that the air itself starts to break apart. The low-pressure part of the wave approaches a vacuum. The high-pressure part becomes a shock wave. Above 194 decibels, sound stops being sound. It becomes destruction. So even if everyone screamed at 110 dB, the loudest a human can, manage to hit about 199 decibels, in theory. But reality would cap it at 194. The planet has a volume limit, and we just found it. But Max isn't satisfied yet. He wants to know, what does 194 decibels actually do? Let's put it in perspective. A rock concert, 120 decibels. A jet engine at takeoff, 140 decibels. A gunshot next to your ear, 160 decibels. The space shuttle launching, 170 decibels. The Krakatoa volcano eruption in 1883, 180 decibels. That sound was heard 3,000 miles away. It ruptured eardrums 40 miles away. The shock waves circled the earth. 4 times our collective scream, somewhere between 180 and 190. Close to Krakatoa, Max realizes we're not just making noise, we're making a weapon. Okay, let's pause for a second. I know what you're thinking. This is insane. We'd destroy everything. But hold on. There's a twist, and it changes everything. See, Max forgot something important, something that saves us. The scream isn't coming from one place, it's coming from everywhere, and that makes all the difference. Here's the thing about sound. It spreads, and when it spreads, it gets weaker. Fast, it's called the inverse square law. Every time you double your distance from a sound source, the volume drops by 6 decibels. So if Max screams at 90 decibels right next to you, and then walks 10 meters away, you'll only hear 70 dB at 100 meters, 50 decibels, basically a conversation, at 1 kilometer. You won't hear him at all. Now, imagine 8 billion people spread across the entire surface of the earth, every continent, every city, mountains, deserts, oceans, sure. If you're standing in the middle of Times Square with 1 million people screaming around you, it's going to be loud, maybe 150 decibels, enough to rupture your eardrums. But someone in rural Montana, they're surrounded by maybe 50 people within a kilometer. That's only about 107 decibels. Loud but not lethal. And someone on a boat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. They're alone. They hear their own scream and nothing else. So here's the paradox. 8 billion people screaming creates 194 decibels in theory. But in practice, most places on Earth would only hit 120 to 140 decibels, still loud enough to hurt, but not loud enough to crack the planet in half. Max feels a little relieved, but he's still curious. What would actually happen? Let's imagine it. Let's watch it happen. The moment arrives, 8 billion people inhale, and Thenthe screamed in New York, windows, shatter car alarms explode to life. People grab their ears. Birds panic and scatterdot in São Paulo. Dogs howl. Construction workers drop their tools. The sound rolls through the streets like a physical wave. In Tokyo, a seismograph detects a vibration. Not from the ground, from the air. Weather satellites pick up an atmospheric pressure pulse, a ripple, moving outward from every major city. Across the oceans, whales dive deeper. Dolphins change course. Even fish feel it. Pilots in airplanes report a strange hum on their radios. Air traffic control frequencies crackle with static. For 5 seconds, the planet is louder than it has ever been. And then silence. The scream ends. The wave dissipates. The energy scatters into the atmosphere and fades. No buildings collapsed. No earthquakes. No cracks in the Earth's crust. Just a lot of ringing ears. A few broken windows. And 8 billion people wondering, did that actually do anything? Max stares at his calculations. All that energy, all that noise, and the planet just shrugged. But wait, there's one more thing Max didn't consider. Something that changes the whole experiment. See, Max assumed everyone was screaming random sounds, different pitches, different tones, total chaos. But what if they weren't? What if everyone screamed the same thing? This is where physics gets beautiful. When sound waves are random, they cancel each other out. Some peaks meet valleys. Some valleys meet peaks. The total volume actually drops. But when sound waves are coherent twin, they're all perfectly in sync. They ADD together perfectly. It's called constructive interference. Imagine a stadium full of people singing the same note. The sound doesn't just get louder, it resonates. It feels like it's coming from inside your chest. Now imagine 8 billion people all saying the same word. At the same moment, at the same pitch. Peace. The sound waves would align. They'd sync. They'd amplify each other in ways that random screaming never could. The volume wouldn't necessarily be louder, but the impact would be deeper. Scientists have studied this. When groups of people chant in unison, their heartbeats start to synchronize. Their brainwaves align. They feel connected. It's not just physics. It's biology. It's psychology. Max realizes the power of the scream isn't in the decibels. It's in the meaning. A chaotic scream says nothing. It's just noise. But a synchronized voice, that's a message. Let's zoom out for a second. This whole experiment, 8 billion people screaming, it's a metaphor, isn't it? Think about it. Right now, 8 billion people are screaming, just not literally. We're screaming on social media, in comment sections, at the news, at each other. All that noise, all that energy, and what does it do? It scatters, it cancels itself out. It dissipates into the void because it's incoherent. It's chaos. Max looks at his phone, the endless scroll, the arguments, the outrage, the noise, and he realizes volume doesn't matter. If there's no harmony, you can scream as loud as you want. But if you're not aligned with others, you're just adding to the static. But when people come together, when they speak the same words toward the same goal, that's when the world actually vibrates, not from the volume, from the resonance. So here's the question. What would you scream? If you had 1 second, 1 moment, to send a message to the entire world, what would it be? Think about it. Max closes his notebook. He's done with the math, because he realizes the answer was never about decibels. It was never about shattering windows or breaking the earth. It was about this. Collective energy only matters when it's directed. 0.8 billion people screaming creates 194 decibels of chaos. 8 billion people speaking the same truth. That creates change. The loudest sound in history was Krakatoa, 180 decibels. It was heard across the world. But it didn't mean anything. It was just destruction. The most powerful sound in history. It wasn't loud at all. It was a whisper that spread. A song that people sang together. a phrase that millions repeated until it became a movement. I have a dream we shall overcome. Me too, not loud. But Align.Max looks out his window. The world is full of noise, but very little signal. And he thinks, maybe. The problem isn't that we don't scream loud enough. Maybe the problem is that we don't listen. Maybe the problem is that we're all shouting different things, hoping someone hears us, when what we really need is to find the words we can say together. So, what if everyone screamed at the same time? The Earth would survive. Your ears might not. Windows would break. Animals would panic, but the planet would keep spinning, because noise, no matter how loud, is still just noise. But if everyone spoke at the same time, if we aligned our voices toward something that mattered, that's when the world changes. Not from the volume, from the harmony. So next time you feel like screaming into the void, pause, ask yourself, am I adding to the chaos? Or am I adding to the signal? Because the planet doesn't need more noise, it needs more resonance, and that starts with you. If this video made you think differently about noise and signal, hit that like button. And here's a question for the comments. If you could say one word that 8 billion people would hear at the same time, what would it be? Drop your answer below. Let's see what resonates. Next week, what if the Earth stopped spinning for 1 second? Trust me, the answer is way weirder than you think. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. Remember, you are not your volume. You are your message.